This is the front showroom to basically my studio, my shop. And basically this is somewhat of an inventory of the current pieces that I have built. And I'm making a record of them before they sell. And then some of the pieces here, like that on the wall and leaning up behind the bench, are featured pieces of lumber that when people drop by from time to time, you know, they can basically see what I've got on hand to make nice tables with, benches, cabinets, whatever. This bench in the center of the frame, it's got a walnut back, the legs are walnut, and then what the seat is, not exactly sure. It's some sort of pine, but I'm not exactly sure. It's not cedar or anything like that, but it could be just heart pine with really tight grain. It's probably old growth, I don't know. Take a closer look here in a second. Now this is somewhat of a modern contemporary style, but yet does have an Asian influence. It's real simple, basic, clean lines, and really it's all about just featuring that lumber and that beautiful backboard on that walnut. And then, like I said, there's the seat. Basically I sanded it flat, but I didn't try to take the character out of it. And then it's got a oil varnish mix for the finish that works out perfect for this type of woodworking here. And look at that. That's something. It's definitely really nice to work with some boards like that. And then the seat here really is nice as well. You can see the grain here, at least in the sapwood. Look how tight that is. I mean, wow, that's like looking at a microscope. It just keeps getting tighter and tighter. Incredible. Rarely do you see it that tight. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely some sort of evergreen, something like that, pine, whatever. This is some salvaged beams that I took out of a warehouse they were demoing in downtown Newport News off the train tracks by the shipyard. And that's a Douglas fir beam. It's about 14 inches wide by about maybe 7 inches thick. And look at all of the nails that it had. It was some sort of structural beam I salvaged out of a trash pile one day. You know, 3 or 4 truckloads of stuff like this. It was one of the smartest things I ever did. And I mean, I had to clean it up a lot and I had to do a lot of work to it. But as you can see, it's either somewhat a type of rustic coffee table, or it could be built up a little taller some way and turned into a bench. But right now, it's basically at about coffee table height. This is something to see. It's just absolutely beautiful. This is a piece of poplar, and it's actually what we call tiger striped. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but there you go. All the way through this. I mean, poplar does definitely have a little bit of figure in it from time to time, but this really did. And this is one wide board. It's about 11, 12 foot long, and it is definitely striated all the way across. Just absolutely beautiful. Look at the end of that. That is going to make somebody an incredible desk, cabinet or a table for sure. Basically, I can't even afford my own stuff. If I did, I would probably save this for myself. These are some pieces I did some time ago. They're wall hanging shelf cupboards, Japanese influence. Maybe the idea came from maybe a tea display that I saw, I think, in a Woodworking magazine. It was a wall cupboard, something like this in structure. And what I liked about it was I could add shelves that were coming straight out, just mortised into the piece, which means these shelves here actually are fitting into custom cut grooves that are deep enough to support it. And then I turned it to where the grain of this shelf is coming straight out at us, as opposed to going this way where it would be weak and could break. And then that walnut in the back is actually, I think all of this walnut on this one was salvaged from a barn. I mean, it was rough. It had nail holes in it, as you can see up there. That's the iron staining from the nails. And then what really inspired the piece was this knot, this curious knot that was about the size of my finger. And I just said, well, I might as well make a cupboard one day with a sliding door and use that knot as the slider. And then that's what I did. And then there's a little stash area, you know, whatever, spice rack, whatever you want to use it for, keepsake teas, personal stuff when you come in the door, your keys, your wallet, your sunglasses, or maybe just a few sparse items, something like, treat it like a piece of art. And then this one's pretty high up. It's basically the same style, just a little bit tweaked on the design. It's got a drawer box, which is really cool, which is really fixed in there. That box doesn't come out, but the drawer itself can come out the box totally. And it's got a really unique curved roof with a little bit of beams that support it. This was some beautiful walnut as well. And that also is the same salvage from the barn. Some of the nail holes. That's the drawer box. Hand carved drawer pulls, what have you. And this is a piece of spalted maple. It's about 20 inches wide, about 10 foot tall. And this is gonna make a gorgeous tabletop here. And I'll put some butterflies down there. This was a piece I did some time ago. This is a George Nakashima influenced table, basically slab construction. That's a huge piece of cherry, about 24, 25 inches in width, maybe about almost 4 foot long, probably. It's not symmetrical, you know. It's not perfectly symmetrical as you can look at it. It's freeform. And it's not perfect geometry. It's more in keeping with the beautiful flow of the figure of this lumber. Look at that. And guess what? This doesn't even have a finish on it. That's just bare wood that you're looking at that I've sanded. There's no finish on it whatsoever. Many of you who maybe have seen some woodworkers before, or maybe looked into George Nakashima, he's pretty famous. Basically, we get these dovetail features that are cut in, kind of like a stitch or a suture. We're about to have an audio outage. And what they do, instead of cutting that crack away and getting rid of it and destroying it, shortening the lumber, what we do is we butterfly it. And this butterfly right here, the angles of it, once it is set into the depth of the wood, this one's probably set in at about maybe a 1/2 inch, 5/8 down. And as you can see, it's pretty much a perfectly cut to fit. And the secret is to use a router first to get rid of the majority of the waste and set the depth. And then you got to do the rest with a chisel. But nonetheless, those are some butterflies. And then you kind of keep the character and the personality of the tree intact. You know, that free-form identity. You know, that beautiful, unique personality that's not a duplicate, you know, that's its own thing. There's not another in the world like it or ever will be. Ever. This grain here, of course, everybody knows, is based upon the conditional environment in which the tree grew. So you'll never see grain patterns exactly the same again. It's like fingerprints. They're almost even more unique. Now you can cut them the same from the same tree. Slice them and slice them. Look at the color here. Just beautiful. I do hope that you guys appreciate stuff like this. I actually just, it's indescribable how passionate I am about woodworking. I thank God every day for every moment and every second that I can do it. It's that precious. I urge anybody to begin to check it out. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, old or young. You know, all that matters is that you've got the desire to create, you know, and you want to get intimate. You know, you want to be a part of the design process. You want to get intimate with the material. You want to work with the living material. You know, you want to work with the material that in some ways is the perfect material, but in many ways it's not. You know, it doesn't necessarily obey. It doesn't necessarily conform. You have to form a relationship with the wood and the design to bring this thing in harmony at the end. Many of you know that a lot of times they don't come out successful, or they might not ever come out completed, you know? But over time you do learn. This is a shaker style trestle table. Beautiful piece. This is an oil varnish mix. It's actually tried and true. And it's got about maybe 5 or 6 coats of the oil varnish tried and true on it. Do I like the tried and true? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a wonderful finish. I think it's one of the best finishes out there. You can build it up as thick as, you know, a varnish or what have you, but you're just going to have to, or a normal varnish, I guess, but you're just going to have to keep on doing it in thinner and thinner coats. You can't keep putting it on thick once you get it on already, because the finish is somewhat sealed and it doesn't penetrate, so it just takes a very little. If you can just get the hang of just putting on a little and a little at a time and then buffing it off, it'll turn out outstanding. Okay, I'll try to show you guys this top here. There's a few more things to see. Let's see if we can get, it's 3 boards. Check this out. This is a two-piece construction. The table below it's a multi-use table. It can be used as a side table, a very small kitchen table, most likely for an apartment or something, for a singular person, maybe two people at best. It can be used as a personal desk, and maybe a side table in the kitchen to store what have yous. But what we got right here on the top is, I guess it would be like a personal organizer of sorts. I've had this a while, but I don't want to sell it. I pretty much just use it as an example of some of my woodworking style or what have you, and I show them some finished products where they can see that at least I know what I'm doing if they're going to contract me to do anything. But this, once again, is something where you can store your mail, you can store your wallet, you can store your keys, your sunglasses, your personal effects. This cabinet here is open, and then it has a pretty unique cherry drawer. It's all solid with this carved in walnut section at the bottom to give you a little texture on the pool. Pull this out. The grain is continuous as it wraps around. It's a shame the camera's not really doing too well here. Slides back on nice. And we've got some stylizations here on the side. Some organic flowing features. And the panel in the back. The panel in the back here, it's really beautiful. It's a shame we're not getting a good view of it. There you go. There's some of the colors. It ends up popping out. You can pop it out so you can dust it and clean it real easy. Okay. And that's what the piece looks like with the closed drawer. And then that is actually setting on some inserts that allow this piece to slide as one singular object across that table. You can see that there's space between it. There's little felt inserts that are routed into the base of that to where it can slide across the table without scratching it. You can pick it up and move it. We have basically the leg design for this table are half laps. It's a singular oak quarter sawn beam, about maybe 2.5 inches, 2 1/4 square, and a little less on one side because I beveled it to give me the angle for the splay on the legs on this side. And then I put the angle for the half lap there. So that gave me this cant right here. So they're splayed out both legs with that unique half lap joinery. And you can see the depth of the legs. And then this comes on and off. As you can see, it's got some routed holes with some Kreg screws, some panhead screws that will take this board on and off with these legs if I ever have to ship it or whatever. So this is pretty much a shop example of another style of table that can be built multiple ways, extended to a full-size dining table, full-size desk arrangement, what have you. More beautiful cherry. Incredible. The sapwood right there at the crotch, and it's all stried, it's all tiger striped. There's another butterfly. Really nice fit, as you can see. I think the audio is going to go out at about 5 more seconds here. Okay. And then check out the cut on this mahogany. That's like probably about 120-year-old mahogany that this dude named Country Boy in downtown Norfolk, in downtown Ghent, he's super famous. He's got a store, Country Boy Antiques. Dude knows what's going on. He salvages all the buildings out there, and a lot of artists, a lot of antiquers, a lot of pickers know about him, and they all go there and get incredible things from him from time to time. And I get some salvage boards from him, and he called me up and told me that he had some beautiful wide boards out of what he said was a mansion in Ghent in Norfolk in Virginia. And I went and checked him out, and believe it or not, it was this mahogany. And he had already sold a bunch of them by the time I got there. But he did save me the best one, and this was one singular long board. And I cut it and made one coffee table out of it. It's a single wide board, probably about 18 inches across. Single sides, it's got that mortised stretcher, runs across. And then everything on the table's got a curve on it. And as you can see, even the mortises for these tenons, as the tenons come through from the legs underneath, you can see it's at a slight curve, right? Well, I had to calculate that slight curve to get it to all fit. It was pretty difficult. I actually did film it, but I lost the film on a phone that got destroyed some time ago. Anyway, I really like that coffee table, to tell you the truth. It's one of the more favorite pieces I've ever done. Okay, this is some more cherry. These are just huge slabs, basically just flat sanded. The sun here. And that is going to make an incredible table, coffee table, desktop, what have you. A couple pieces. This one here is about 2.5 inches thick, and it's just going to be wow. It doesn't have any finish on it. It's not even finished sanded. It's probably only been sanded to about maybe 180 on a big wide belt sander, so it's perfectly flat. It's a nice piece. All right, this video is going to wind down. These are some of the antique style pieces that I do salvage and recreate. Some of them I've made all the way through. Some of them I've just kind of restored and brought back to life. This is actually a wall hanging cupboard that is on the ground. It'd be great for a laundry room or something. Somebody's probably going to get it for something like that. Another really cool cupboard, old-timey style jelly cupboard. I cut it down. It was taller, and then it's got this galvanized top on it now. This, believe it or not, is really cool. It's super old. It's single board construction. It's pine, but it's called grain painted, and it's where somebody has painted it to mimic tiger maple. You couldn't tell it right now because the thing's probably close to 200 years old. I believe it was made by a slave, and knowing the place where it comes from in Gloucester, Virginia, and the history of that family and some of the other things associated with it, even a piece of pottery that's connected to it, that's what I think it is. I think it's a piece that was made by a freed slave, actually. Nonetheless, it's one of my favorite pieces that I got. Super cool. It's dovetailed. The drawers are dovetailed. You know, everything is super old-time construction, hand planed, the whole nine. No electricity, stuff like that. Japanese bench here that I did out of some of that salvaged lumber that I got from the shipyard. I really like this piece. It's small. It's only it's less than 3 foot long, and it's perfect height, probably about 17 inches tall, and it's all interlock joinery. There's no metal in it whatsoever. There's only 4 pegs underneath that cross beam holding the seat together, and then everything else, the joinery locks basically in channels with tongues and rabbets, and then half laps. So that is some about 100-year-old salvaged old growth pine. Then you guys saw this bench already, some of you did. This is what it looks like after it had the first few coats of finish applied to it. And it's probably going to be hard to get this thing in there, but we've got a Japanese style mahogany wings on the end, and it's got some sort of brass coated buttons on the end, or gold plated, or I don't know what it is. They're like they're old-timey furniture cushions, and I think I remember seeing them on like that craftsman style, like leather furniture, like I don't know, like you'd see it like a ski resort or something like that, you know. But anyway, I found a bunch of them, and I've been using them to feature them on stuff like this, and I think they look really cool. This is some salvaged pine too. It's really nice. And tiger maple simple shaker bench. Really like that piece. It's getting darker with the age there. Tiger stripes and all. And then we've got a really cool piece here that I like. This is what I've been doing for like almost 20 years, really. Is like antiques, like early American style, painted, distressed, country, cottage furniture. And I use old wood and all sorts of techniques, and make things that are not old look old, and then take things that were old and make them into new things. This one's really cool. I really like it a lot. It's kind of got the shaker type of proportion to it, I guess. Hand cut wood pegs and a couple of hand cut nails that I salvaged and then reused. This would be a wood peg, and then this would be one of those nails, old-timey, some old barn wood. It's been bleached, and then it's been whitewashed. Pickled, really, is what it is, but you know, you can buy a kit or whatever. I just do it, you know, kind of like this. I like the wear of it better. It's got a secret compartment. Just push that back, and then the bottom of that drawer opens up to a welling there of about 2.5 inches tall, something like that. Anyway, wall hanging, or it can sit on top of a counter. It can go in a kitchen. It's probably only about maybe 6 or 7 inches off the wall. Perfect depth. If you guys are still with me, this is a piece that I did. I don't know. This has got to be well over 10 years ago I did this. It's basically made from all salvaged materials, and it's kind of inspired, as you know, from ancient civilizations, ancient cultures, ancient mythologies. It's basically it's an amalgamation of multicultural interpretations of angelic symbology. And I'm going to go ahead and get it into a view where you can actually see it here. There you go. It's definitely Native American inspired, absolutely. Every bit of those feathers that you see are hand cut. They're metal. That little bit of vegetation up top. I was just cleaning up the shop. I stuck it up there. It looked cool. I am gonna take it down, but I just got it up there right now. But as you can see, this thing is rising up out of the fire, right? You know, crazy, huh? Considering everything that we're talking about and everything that it's been connected to. It's just unreal. And there you can see, it's just made out of old wood, salvaged metal, and hand painted, okay? And then you can probably maybe see some of the designs. It's made like a copper armor scheme. It's got like copper on, and the metal's embossed because it comes from like a 1700 steamer trunk that had all sorts of flowers and stuff already on it. You can kind of see them right there. So I was like, yeah, you know, I saved that metal, stripped it off the trunk because it was destroyed, and then knew that I could make something out of it one day. And then me and a friend of mine actually one night sat down and cut out and then painted all of those feathers. And we had already had the wing structure. It was one of the dudes that was kind of like my apprentice, you know, friend that stayed here for a time and then helped me out. And I was trying to help him out, teach him the woodworking and the art and everything. You know, at least the way how I know how to do it, you know. And there you have it. The piece is probably about 7 foot tall, I guess. And I think it's super cool. I'm gonna pull it out this way so you can see a better view of it real quick. And yep, it's in a meditative state of prayer. Now, there's been a lot of people that, not a lot, but it's been several. It's been maybe 3.